Don't touch that dial. You're tuned in to the Dread Podcast Network.
Welcome to Development Hell. For every horror movie that hits VOD, countless others end up DOA. Development Hell is the podcast dedicated to unearthing these cursed horror productions. We're going to find out what went wrong, and then decide if these titles still stand a shot at the green light. I am your host, Josh Korngut. I am the managing editor of Dread Central. I am also a filmmaker in Toronto, Canada. This podcast is a proud member of the Dread Podcast Network. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Development Hell. Today, we are reporting to you live from one of my favorite places in the world, the Chattanooga Film Festival. The Chattanooga, woo! Yeah, woo! This is the 12th edition. It's running from June 20th to 28th, and they recently unveiled all of the crazy programming, so you can check it out no matter when this is. They, champion and program all sorts of crazy offbeat, like cult mayhem. This is the film festival for you if you like genre, and I know that's what you like because you listen to this podcast, probably. So to celebrate the fact that we are recording with the Chattanooga Film Festival, I thought, well, why not do an episode sort of to theme to the cult mayhem of Chattanooga? So for the first time in Development Hell history, we are tackling the big boy himself, Godzilla. I'm excited.
Woo!
Yeah, we've never done it. We've never talked about Godzilla on this podcast because there's so much to talk about. This episode could be its own mini series, but we're going to sort of combo punch it all to one. We're going to talk about 3 unmade Godzilla topics today. And we have 2 amazing guests. We've got Beth McAndrews and Graham Skipper. So I'm going to introduce these 2 very quick and then they can talk, but not till then. Or no, not till then. Beth, hi. So you're a Development Hell favorite. You've been here many times before. You are my boss, so I have to be nice to you. Yes, you are the editor-in-chief here at Dread Central, where I also work. You're also a filmmaker. So you made the very shocking rape revenge horror movie last year, Bystanders. I believe it's on Tubi. Watch it, but carefully. And you're all sorts of stuff. So do you want to just reintroduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, you got a lot of it, but I'm Beth. I'm so excited to be here. I have all of my little Godzilla toys, especially, we'll get to this later, but my Mothra, who is my queen and my love. So I'm very excited to be here talking about Godzilla because it's one of my favorite subjects.
Yay, and I knew that it would be. And then a surprise guest today, we have Graham Skipper with us as well. So you all know who he is. So he is like a bit of an indie horror darling. Like you've seen his movies, you've seen him in movies. It's true. Don't be, don't lie about it. Most recently, I saw him in Suitable Flesh. It's a Dread Central favorite. Like, what a killer movie. Also, Beyond the Gates, he has made his own film that I believe was in this festival not that long ago. I Can Do This. It was Sequence Break, right? That was in this festival? Was that your only feature here? Am I missing Instagram?
No, so Chattanooga premiered Sequence Break several years ago, and then this past year in the virtual festival, my newest movie, The Lonely Man with the Ghost Machine, played for Chattanooga. So I love Chattanooga very much, and very excited to be here to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is also Godzilla.
Wow.
Graham, did
so
you
perfect.
read a book about Godzilla? Did I make that up in my head? You wrote a book about.
You did not make that up. I did write a book. This was probably 3 years ago now at this point. Toho Studios got in touch with me. It's a very long, convoluted story about how I know the folks at Toho. And
Cool.
they knew I was a big fan. I'd done a little bit of work for them, producing some other like short form content that was Godzilla based. And they reached out to me and said, we are doing the first English language full compendium of the official guide to the Godzilla franchise. And we know you know this material really, really well. And would you be interested in writing the book? And so, so I wrote the book. Dream job, and learned a lot. And sadly, in the book, I wanted to have a chapter all about, some of the bigger unmade Godzilla films, but we were limited by page count, so I couldn't. So I'm very happy to be here talking about this because there are some really fun movies that I don't know how close they were actually to getting made, but they're really fun.
They're fun to talk about. They're fun as a fantasy, and that's kind of what matters to me. So yeah, we're so thrilled to have you here, both of you. Very special, 2 different ways. And what I kind of want to talk about now is just like the basics, the 101 on Godzilla, because there's going to be people like me at home that maybe aren't like super knowledgeable on the topic, and I'm just going to like run us through the very, very, very basics. So if you need a crash course, this is it. I believe it first appeared 1954 in the self-titled film, and this was a character conceived as a metaphor for nuclear destruction, and it reflected Japan's post-war anxieties. Huge cultural impact, obviously. I mean, it came on to become this worldwide pop culture sensation. We've got over 30 Japanese films, all produced by Toho, the company that was just mentioned. And there's also a bunch of American versions as well. And I think this holds the Guinness World Record for the longest continuous running film series of all time. I wish that could be said about A Nightmare on Elm Street, but we haven't had one since 2010. Initially, it was portrayed, or Godzilla was this big, destructive, scary force. But over time, I think they've changed and evolved. And in later films, you see Godzilla becoming an anti-hero or even a stranger, protector of humanity when they battle other monstrous threats. So, this is a powerful symbol. This is a character.
I think you can use he for Godzilla.
I don't know. I don't want to.
I don't think you need to worry about gendering Godzilla. He just like is.
May I? I will cut in here. I will cut in here because I of course had to submit, drafts of the book to Toho, and one of the first notes they gave me, because I gendered Godzilla as a he, king of the monsters.
I knew not to. Sorry.
The whole thing. And they said Godzilla is genderless. Godzilla is a force of nature.
Wow.
Just the same way as an earthquake is not male or female, or a hurricane is not male or female.
I think hurricanes are often female, let's be honest.
But
that's beautiful.
That is what Toho told me. So that's how the book is.
I remember being a kid. I watched the 1998 one when I was a kid, and I have a vague memory of Godzilla being intersex from that film. And so ever since then, I have tried I've tried not to gender Godzilla since then. And clearly it was the right move. I don't know. Was that, I have to ask, did I make that up? Or
no, you didn't make that up.
Okay. In my mind, I remember it vaguely. And I was like, what does that even mean yet? I didn't.
I do have a soft spot in my heart for the 98 Godzilla.
Why not?
But that's not Godzilla. But it's okay.
It's not.
There was a sequel, right? Was there like a direct sequel and like 2 years later? Or am I making that up?
Not
of
that movie,
the 1998 one?
Yeah. Well, there should have been. I love a terrible.
It was the animated series that they had, though. The animated series had that version of Godzilla in it, like that design.
Cute.
Of the iguana looking, intersex iguana looking Godzilla.
Pride icon queen Godzilla. Love that Godzilla. Love Pride Godzilla. Yeah. Okay. So I gave the breakdown. Hopefully it was right. If it wasn't, whatever. I want to talk about the two of you and your personal histories and relationships with this giant monster. I know you both love Godzilla. I know you're both big heads in the community. So Mary Beth, I'll start with you. What is your origins with Godzilla? What are your favorite entries? And I want to hear about your wedding.
So my grandma was the first person to show me Godzilla. Like she was like, you and she made me and my brothers watch the 1954 Godzilla and was like, this is what a monster movie is, because she's a bad bitch. And I liked it and I didn't really know much about it. And then I met my now husband, and he is he grew up watching Godzilla and he introduced me to it, and that's where I really dove into like the weird stuff, like the different eras, and like realizing there's like the different eras of Godzilla and what those different eras are kind of known for, because there's like, we all know the original Godzilla, but then as it kind of progresses, there are like the Heisei era and the Millennium era, and these like very distinct eras of Godzilla films. And one of my, I really love Mothra in all her beautiful forms, because Mothra is usually the hero, and also she has two twin magical fairy ladies often singing for her wherever she shows up.
Love that.
I love her. And then I also really
recording
love,
in progress.
Godzilla versus Biollante, which is Biollante. We have her here. She is essentially a giant rose monster. And I have this beautiful Biollante figure here I got in Japan because I love it. And then I also love Godzilla versus Hedorah, which is basically Godzilla fighting a giant toxic slime puddle that turns into a slime puddle plane at one point and flies around. It's so silly, but it's so good. Like the effects are
Hedorah, like heteronormativity?
No, it's not. Hedorah. Hedorah.
That rose monster.
So,
I love her. Sorry.
I love her. And it's like all tragic. Like it's like doctors, like DNA with a rose and all spliced. It's like all like mad scientist-y. So I really have a soft spot for like the kind of sillier Godzillas that are like but the weirder monsters, but like they're really creative at the same time. Like they're really interesting and creative. And because my husband and I love Godzilla, when we were doing like now introducing Mr. and Mrs. whatever the hell, we walked out to the Godzilla theme song. And then for our honeymoon, we went to Japan and actually did the incredible thing where you zip line into Godzilla's mouth. And I would like to show a picture.
It? You did that?
I did it. We planned most of our honeymoon around this because we really wanted to do it for years. And we were just like so excited to get the opportunity to do it. And it's at this incredible, like this is us in front of Godzilla.
Yes. Oh, like beautiful.
In our helmets, getting ready to zip line through. And it's at this incredible park, like theme park, that's all like different nerdy like sections. There's the Godzilla section, and then there's like the Dragon Slayer section, which is like it's all like nerdy anime stuff. But it was the coolest. So like Godzilla has been a huge part of our relationship. So like we went to Japan to zip line into Godzilla's mouth, and then we also spent maybe too much money on way too many Godzilla things. Like if you look back here, you can even see my stuffed Shin Godzilla monster when he is like in his larval form. So yeah. Oh, there's Mothra over here and like a squish. I can't believe you're on my room. Like, oh my God, there's so much more Godzilla stuff around me than like I remember. But it's just like it brings a lot of joy, because a lot of these movies, like the original Godzilla is harrowing and upsetting and sad as shit, I will say. But like a lot of the like after in between are like more comfort movies. Shin Godzilla is too, but Shin Godzilla is also deeply upsetting, but like it's a comfort movie for me and my husband. We just like put it on when we can't figure out what to watch. So yeah.
That's so beautiful. So is that also where the Godzilla Hotel is, where you can like look out your window and see the giant Godzilla? I feel like
no. So okay. In Tokyo, on top of the movie theater, like the big movie theater in Shibuya, is a giant, I have a picture of that in front of that too, is a giant Godzilla head that's always on top of the movie theater. So there's a Tokyo hotel you can stay in to always see that guy. Cool. And we went to Japan when Godzilla -1 was coming out. So there was even more Godzilla stuff around, like pop-up shops in the subway and all this cool shit. So anyway,
that's so funny.
Godzilla's just cool and amazing. And my grandma went to Japan and bought me Godzilla stuff. Like it is now just like the thing our family knows us for is Godzilla. So
That's so cool. I saw Godzilla -1 at a Regal theater on Miami Beach, and there was nobody else in the theater. So we had different experiences.
Well, they're lost because you got to experience Godzilla -1 on a big screen.
I sure fucking did. Well, that was beautiful. Thank you, Mary Beth. Wouldn't want to follow that. So, Graham, I want to hear about you, your origins with Godzilla, your favorite entries. Like, how did you get to this place that you are now sort of the known academic on this side of the pond? So,
I mean, hell if I know. Yeah, my first introduction to Godzilla, so it was also through my grandparents, primarily my grandma.
Oh my God, wait, really? That's so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so at my grandparents' house, which is like out in the country, but we'd go there all the time, like every weekend practically. They had one of those gigantic satellite dishes in the backyard, that would pick up like all these other channels and stuff that we didn't have at home. And one of those channels was HBO. And so me, because I am an indoor kid and I like air conditioning and don't want to be running around with all those bugs and things, I would stay inside. And in my grandparents' bedroom, which was like in the back, there was a tiny little CRT TV that was hanging up from the like top corner of the ceiling. It was I don't know why they would ever put a TV there, but I would tune it to HBO and just kind of watch whatever was on. And they would tell you like coming up, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I was watching something. I have no idea what it was, but it said coming up next, King Kong versus Godzilla. Whoa. And I was always like a monster kid. I loved spooky stuff. I loved Frankenstein and Dracula and all that stuff. And I knew, of course, what King Kong and Godzilla were. Like I'd heard those things. And I was like, well, I figure I'll probably like this. So I watched King Kong versus Godzilla. Totally fell in love. And back in those days, they used to do these Godzilla marathons on HBO. So they just show them all day. So that's what I would do when I'd go out to my grandparents' place is I'd hack into their, I'd turn on their little satellite dish or their big satellite dish. And then I just watch Godzilla marathons, just whatever was coming on. And those became I call them like my Sunday afternoon movies. They're comfort movies for me, just like they are for you. The original, so in America, we didn't get the original Japanese version of Godzilla until like the early 2000s. And before that, it was all the Americanized Godzilla King of the Monsters I was very familiar with. The Japanese version is very, very different. And so I ended up watching that when I was in college. And that just like reinvigorated my love for the franchise because the Japanese version of that original film is just a stunning work of art. Not to discredit the American version, which is also very good in its own way, but it's very kind of rah, we're going to kill the monster kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the Japanese version is a lot more like elegiac and like, it's almost like a tone poem. It's like a really interesting film. And so that just made me kind of dive back in and, maybe watch them through new eyes and just really fall in love with the franchise all over again. And then about the time we made Beyond the Gates, I ended up meeting a friend of a friend who was the writer of the Godzilla comics at IDW at the time. And I was like, I'm a big Godzilla fan. And he was like, I'm a big horror fan. And then we just became pals. And later on, he got hired by Toho to work for Toho North America. And it was through him that they were going to produce a series of online sort of comedic shorts about Godzilla. And he reached out to me about that. I worked with them on producing a number of those. And then that ultimately led to the book happening. So that's
cool. Wait, which one? Which Toho clips online? Where are they? Are they animated?
It's called Godzilla Tales, and I think Funny or Die maybe released them. But they're little short films that are we took all of the Godzilla films and then just re-edited different shots and stuff from the old Godzilla films.
Oh yeah,
funny little new it's very silly, just very silly stuff.
That's fun.
They were trying to, I think, get American interest back into Godzilla and get them also to get Americans to be interested in the Japanese films as well.
So you've been like developing that relationship with Toho. You are a filmmaker. Like, have you ever submitted like your own Godzilla film pitches or lookbooks? Like, have you ever been able to get into that realm?
Oh yeah, I definitely have.
I'd love to. Can you? Is there anything you're allowed to like share about that experience?
Oh, I'm sure none of them will get made.
Well, you never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, gosh, one of them was it was like a web series that, because they were really into trying to do like some online content at the time. And I was trying to think of stuff that wasn't just going to be like super crazy expensive. And so I had a whole thing that was like I sort of, the elevator pitch was like Melrose Place, but there's also Godzilla. And it's like an apartment building where all these people know that Godzilla's on the way, and all the different people are dealing with this impending destruction in their own way, and then things get kind of meta and weird. And
so you wrote a play? Is that what you're telling me?
A little bit. But I don't know. Yeah, I submitted a few different ideas and some comic ideas and stuff like that, and Toho really, really looks after their baby. Godzilla is the most important thing.
Yeah, I bet. And
they're very protective, and they really, really take a lot of good care of Godzilla. And you can tell, it's there's a reason it's been running since 1954.
I like that. That's
and they love their fans. They love their fans too.
It's like the biggest thing, pop culture, to come out from over there, to my knowledge. So I actually, for my first time ever, I learned a little bit more about Toho because they had a film at Cannes this year, an adaptation of a video game called Exit 8. And so I learned a little bit about them and their fandom through that. So that was fascinating. It's time for us to dive into the first of our 3 Unmade sort of fantasy Godzilla projects. So we did our very best with research on this one. And that means a lot of weird essays from 1998 that are still online. That means a lot of Reddit conversations. That means we did our very best. So if you notice any holes in this plan, I'd love to hear from you. Follow me on socials at Development Hell Pod. Get into my DMs, yell at me, and we'll talk. So first up today, we're talking about, I think my favorite on this list, Bride of Godzilla. Mary Beth is going to lead the section, but just a little bit of a summary here. It was just a proposed sequel. There was a script. I believe an actor by the name of, and I might need help here, but Hideo Unagami, who later contributed to the screenplay for a film called The H-Man in 1958. This was his brainchild. The screenplay, I believe, was produced to a Toho producer in 1955. And it was right after the release of Godzilla Raids Again. And I think there was some serious interest, but the timing may have been a little bit too close. I believe that's kind of where it fell apart. But Mary Beth is going to give us some details.
All right. So this is, as you can probably think, Bride of Frankenstein, Bride of Godzilla. Let's just think about the parallels here. So love a good mad scientist story. This started off with Dr. Zenji Shida. He is grieving the loss of his wife, of course, always a sad mad scientist. And he constructs a robot that looks just like her. Easy way to fill the hole in your heart. And then he builds a giant female robot referred to as Robot Daughter, modeled after his foster daughter to combat emerging threats. Like monsters. There is, I don't know how we all feel about the more recent Godzilla movies with the Hollow Earth and the monkey, the apes living in the center of, Graham, I'm not sure how you feel about all that. I love those movies. I love the new ones because they are kind of crazy hot nonsense. But Hollow Earth also came up in this one, where Dr. Shida does in fact theorize that Godzilla and Anguirus originate from a subterranean world within Hollow Earth. Amazing. And Anguirus is a recurring monster within the Godzilla universe.
Can we talk about the Hollow Earth stuff just for a hot second? Because I did see online it was kind of controversial. I want to hear what you both think about that and like, what is it exactly?
I mean, like, Hollow Earth is like a real theory that people actually have, that like the Earth is hollow and that there are things that live in our. I mean, I find that insane
like bird
to me,
bones.
but
keep going. Bird bones are
sure,
hollow.
yeah. oh, sorry. I was like, what?
Yeah.
But so the Hollow Earth theory has then now been legitimized is by far not the correct word here, but essentially in some of the new Godzilla films that Adam Wingard has headed, Hollow Earth is confirmed to be real, and that's where King Kong is from, and where all of and there's also a tribe of people that live there.
Is it by Middle Earth, or is it no?
Sorry, Middle Earth is like not. I'm sorry, Middle Earth is not within this hierarchy anymore. We are moving away from that, but it's like basically, there's portals around the world where you can go into the Earth
that
crust,
helps.
and there's like whole like species that live there that you've never seen before, and no one knows about.
It's crazy that it was already sort of a concept in this world back in the 50s.
I mean, that's what people think, like, where all like the monsters are from, or like like folk tales and fairy tales and stuff like that. So like, I think Steve thinks it's insane and kind of dumb. I think it's fun because it's like, well, it's they're leaning into the craziness of it all. But that's
and what about you, Graham?
Yeah, I like the American ones. I mean, there are some purists out there that are like, they're not, this isn't real Godzilla, or they're not taking it seriously or whatever. But I mean, you look back at like, especially the Showa era, and there's some goofy movies. And I think I agree. I think that's what Wingard's really leaning into with these latest ones is, yeah, man, let's go full sci-fi, like, I wouldn't be surprised if suddenly we started seeing aliens, and then you've also got the Godzilla -1 continuity, which they're also building. And so I think for, you've got your serious Godzilla continuity, and then you've got your goofball American continuity, and they're fun. I think more Godzilla is better. More is more. So I'm happy about that.
Okay, cool. I'd love to hear more about that plot, Mary Beth.
Hell yeah. All right, so Dr. Shida, in fact, ventures into Hollow Earth and discovers multiple Godzillas, Anguiruses, and a race of alluring mermaids. And of course, he falls in love with one of the mermaids. Yay!
Yeah.
But of course, as what always seems to happen when scientists go to places they aren't supposed to, Godzilla, and Anguirus, a giant chameleon, a giant Archaeopteryx, all emerge into Kyushu, Japan, and start fucking shit up, as they like to say professionally. You open a portal, Godzilla just shows up. It's great.
Yeah.
And then from there, our robot daughter is employed to defend Japan. Robot daughter defeats the chameleon. A giant robot daughter, which feels like something out of Steven Universe, if anyone has watched Steven Universe. But our robot daughter defeats the chameleon and the Archaeopteryx, breaks Anguirus's jaw, and she's able to withstand his atomic breath. So he falls in love with her because
and she's hot. You know the giant robot was hot. I think I even read somewhere she's like kind of naked, maybe naked-y.
Like, I love anime. I love Japan, but like they really love to
hot naked lady.
They love a hot naked lady. They love that. So I wouldn't be surprised, but also like I kind of love a hot lady fighting and seducing Godzilla. Especially, have you ever seen those pictures of the women who are in the club of like women for Godzilla and like women who want to marry Godzilla? Like,
no, but cool. I
yeah, it's great. It's amazing.
Cool.
But then she gains his affection, but there's a twist. Unbeknownst to our Godzilla friend, robot daughter is a timed hydrogen bomb. And we know what hydrogen bombs do to Godzilla. She leads him back to his ecosystem, aka Hollow Earth, before detonating, which, doesn't just kill Godzilla, but just obliterates Hollow Earth in general. So
it was hollow.
Incredible story, though. I love
sad ending.
But also, like, that kind of feels not exactly like the ending of the OG Godzilla, but like they use a hydrogen bomb at the end of the OG to like get, and a guy sacrifices himself to destroy Godzilla. So it's got like silliness, but it's got a little bit of the same, like a little bit of like the similar flavor to the ending.
I was not expecting that. I mean, you can't trust giant robot women. You can't. They're hot.
That's what you think.
That's what I know from personal experience.
Anyway, but yeah. So some of the themes in here include adult-oriented content.
Oh my God. Crazy.
Lots of affection and romance, which like I feel like Godzilla films have some weird relationship between people, and like there's sometimes like a weird awkwardly inserted romance angle sometimes, but usually always. So it's funny to see like how much romance, look what, however we want to call this, lust is in just the description of Bride of Godzilla.
And it's technically queer lust, because I learned earlier that
Godzilla's not gendered.
It's not a dude. So that's
oh my God. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, everybody.
Pride.
I saw what I think was like maybe a promotional image from this era of a woman sort of linking arms with Godzilla. And I think maybe she was supposed to represent Godzilla. When this is eventually on the Development Hell feeds, I will link it in the show notes because it's worth seeing. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right.
I would love this. I wish this movie was real. I really do.
There's time.
That would be so cool.
Graham, get it done.
It's a cool story. Yeah, it's and I love that ending. The idea that they embrace at the end and then boom.
It's like the end of May. No.
Oh my!
I didn't give that away.
No, it's like in that scene of Watchmen when like there is the dream that Night Owl has, and they're kissing and hugging, and like the face of the atomic bomb destroying their bodies, and there's like something so romantic about it. And honestly, Godzilla deserves love. They might not have gender, they might not have the typical sexual experiences that we do, but I think they still deserve emotional affection.
I agree, and I hope that the robot loved Godzilla.
Yeah,
Fembot.
Fembot.
Okay.
Anyway, so so we're talking about why it was canceled.
Oh, right.
So the plot was considered too bizarre, which I understand that this was submitted in like the 50s before the Showa era and before things got like fucking wild. But like it's just so funny to say, oh, it's like too bizarre and controversial. And I'm like, it's just so funny what awaited the future of Godzilla and being like, guys, come on now. But they were also hesitant to produce another Godzilla film soon after Godzilla raids again. Because again, this is early on in the world of Godzilla. They're not sure what it's going to become. But there were elements like the Hollow Earth stuff were repurposed in Rodan, which is 1956. Rodan is another iconic Godzilla monster who is basically looks kind of like a pterodactyl. Just
I know that one.
Of what, yeah. And then lots of prehistoric creatures in Rodan, obviously. Robotic adversary, obviously, we see in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. And I love that Mechagodzilla made a fucking appearance in the new American movies. I was surprised that Mechagodzilla made an appearance. Charles Dance built Mechagodzilla. I find that incredible. Or was it Mechagodzilla? Yeah. Yes, Mechagodzilla rules. So it is King Ghidorah, but that's not even related to this. And I'm very excited I just learned this. In 1998, Japanese vocalist Masato Shimon released a song titled Bride of Godzilla, which, demonstrates an enduring fascination with this film. And I'm now going to have to listen to that on repeat.
Yeah, maybe
even
down the line
Japanese,
you can get that in the episode.
I feel like the vibes of that song is very good to me.
I mean, it's going to be my favorite song. I have a question for both of you now that we're sort of wrapping this section up, which is, canonically speaking, has Godzilla ever fucked?
No. So there is
Minya.
He goes by many names: Little Godzilla, Godzilla Jr., Mini-La.
Minya, come on, man! The abomination.
And there, which is in Son of Godzilla. But we one, it is never explicitly stated that Godzilla actually laid the egg. And in fact, the explanation that we're given is that this is more like another Godzilla creature laid this egg, but our Godzilla is who was there when the egg hatched and adopted.
That's so queer. I love it.
Child. Son of Godzilla is a goofy movie.
Minya makes me so nervous. Minya gives you the creeps, little Godzilla.
He's a little weird dude.
He's a little weird man.
But I love the Heisei. I love Godzilla Jr. in the Heisei era. Godzilla Jr. like plays a major role in that. My personal favorite of all the movies, aside from the original, is Godzilla versus Destroya, in which Godzilla Jr. plays a huge role, and it's very sad and very dramatic.
Oh my god, it is. I was not expecting it.
Yeah, it's a really great movie. As far as I know, Godzilla has never fucked. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of monsters in the Hollow Earth, so.
But not in the canon. Also, Destroya, I have to say, is a beautiful drag name.
Yes.
You can get grosser with it. Like, never mind. Okay, cool. Bride of Godzilla. I loved that. That really gave me what I wanted.
I'm inspired to get I've been trying to think of a Godzilla tattoo, and I really wanted Mothra, but now I might get Godzilla like in a wedding dress with a veil.
That's so
nice.
But also like some illusion that there's like that it's like both gender, you know, queered out.
Yeah. Anyway.
I did get this guy.
Oh,
wow, that's gorgeous. The colors are so good.
Yeah, right.
Is that brand new?
A couple years ago.
The colors are so good.
The colors?
I got it when the book was released. So
okay, yeah, that's a good idea.
That makes sense.
Did the colors hurt more?
Not really. I mean, I like getting tattoos, so I was kind of zenned out.
You guys are so alike. It's crazy. You have two things in common.
Yeah.
Woo. I am sorry. I can't contain my excitement. We have to move on to part 2, which is something called Godzilla versus Batman, aka Batman meets Godzilla. When I was saying I was doing my best with research, I was alluding to this. There's lots of cross-referencing here, but it's a lot of crazy fandom stuff. So let's take a look at what this insane concept is. And Graham, I'm really sorry, but I have to throw this one to you.
Okay, yeah. Well, like you said, a lot of these plots and things like that they're coming from a lot of different sources. I do think that through the grapevine, we do have a lot of fans that maybe periodically add a little something here and there.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is like, it's not like we read the treatment, but this is definitely a movie that was thrown around because by this point in '66, when the Batman TV show was going on, Godzilla. So just jumping back a little bit, after Godzilla raids again, they never thought that Godzilla was going to become a franchise. So they made the first one. It was a hit. They made Godzilla Raids Again, a direct sequel to that, and it was not as much of a hit. And then it sat dormant for essentially about 10 years. And everybody kind of thought Godzilla was sort of dead. Until, and I'll get to this in a minute, but until they got the rights to King Kong, they made King Kong versus Godzilla, which was the gigantic, massive tentpole hit of that summer. Like, it was the Avengers Endgame of that year. It was massive. And that totally rejuvenated interest. And of course, it made Toho go, who else can Godzilla fight? The Batman TV show was very, very popular in Japan at the time. And so Toho met with Greenway Productions, who had made the Batman TV series. And they were going to basically collaborate on Adam West and Burt Ward and that whole world coming up together and clashing with Godzilla. In this movie. And the basic plot of the movie, as much as I sort of understand it, so Commissioner Gordon and his daughter, Barbara, are on a cruise, and, they're out there having a good time. They're over sort of near Japan. Suddenly a tidal wave capsizes the ship, as, it happens. And they reveal that it's the work of a former Nazi, because the Nazis are behind everything.
They are.
Of a mad scientist named Finster. He was this is one of my favorite things. He was a Nazi and a meteorologist.
Oh, you can do both.
You can do both. And he basically comes forward and says, I can control the weather unless you get, and I'm going to keep destroying stuff unless you give me $20 million.
Okay, got it.
So
$20 million.
$20 million. You got to do the Dr. Evil.
Yeah.
And
By House of Toronto.
And so somehow it's discovered, it's learned by Commissioner Gordon that that he's also controlling Godzilla. Somehow he's taken control of Godzilla, and Finster's using Godzilla in addition to controlling the weather to just destroy everything until they give him his money. So then they summon Batman and Robin to come over and help them out. Batman and Robin end up going through all these hijinks. One of my favorite bits that they talk about is that they because Finster ends up summoning and maybe this is something that's in the Batman TV show that I'm unaware of, but a character named Count Dreidel. Who I have to assume is somehow a Count Dracula type something. But Batman and Robin fight a robot version of Count Dreidel.
Like Dreidel, I made it out of clay, Dreidel?
And no, Draidl.
Okay, both me and Mary Beth were like, but
I was like, oh.
okay.
Yeah, and then they get into they go to a kabuki performance, like just to see it, and then somehow that morphs into them being on stage doing a sword fight with somebody during the kabuki performance, because now there are all these robots around.
It's rude, but it's cool.
We discovered there's all of these robot people that they're now having to fight. They get locked into a taxi cab. Batgirl comes and frees them, and then Batgirl comes in. This is great too. There's a whole sequence that's described of Batman and Robin sticking to local Japanese like tradition and custom, and they're running through a bathhouse, and all they have on is their masks, because you have to be naked in a Japanese bathhouse.
Tradition.
They're naked with their masks on, running through a bathhouse, which would be awesome.
Hot.
Love that.
And so yeah, the big finale is that Batman ends up creating a Godzilla mating call.
And once again, Godzilla fucking.
Godzilla fucks, I guess. And,
that's the name of this podcast now. Godzilla fucks.
Godzilla fucks. Yeah, I want that on a t-shirt.
That's good. No one steal that. Okay.
And so Godzilla shows up, and Batman ties like a rocket to Godzilla's neck and rockets him up into space.
Wow.
And that's the big finale.
Oh my god, Godzilla X.
Yeah, it's a cool sounding movie. But the one of the things was like that Batman TV series, it didn't last long in terms of the super popularity that it initially had. They were worried about the technology involved in shooting Godzilla up into space in 1966.
So they were going to do it. They were really going to go for it.
And then honestly, what I think was probably the biggest hurdle that Toho was facing was that they were going to have to work in tandem with the American studio. And that was just, because Batman is also a major, imagine Toho, a titan working with DC Comics. That was going to be a massive challenge. So that was another thing. So I think the project just kind of fizzled out. But they they've got the treatment of it. It was a full treatment that was written, and it's been preserved, and so it exists. They reused some of the weather control ideas in Son of Godzilla, and then if you read what was that?
Oh, I was laughing. Sorry.
Yeah. And then the And then like if you read the comics and stuff, I mean, you'll see. I think they just had a Spider-Man versus Godzilla that came out. I mean, this sort of this sort of tradition. Or my favorite crossover, which was Godzilla versus Shaquille O'Neal, which is great. I had the opportunity. Side note on that, I had the opportunity to interview John Carpenter about his love of Godzilla. And I was talking to him about this, and I knew he was, obviously he's a big basketball fan, and he's also a huge Godzilla fan, huge Godzilla nut. And so I said, well, certainly you know about when Godzilla had to face off against Shaquille O'Neal. So I'm curious, what current LA Laker would you pit up against Godzilla? And he said, I would take the whole team. Like, yes.
So good.
Incredible question, by the way. Incredible question.
Did that ever get like news? Was there like a news aggregated story about that, or can we take that fresh?
That was with Fangoria, and it was when Godzilla or Carpenter was doing like, I can't remember what I have the thing around here somewhere actually, but he was doing a whole thing where he was programming a bunch of Godzilla films. But that was really fun. Yeah, I went into it going, all right, I know that he doesn't do a lot of interviews, and I know sometimes he's grumpy during interviews. I know he loves Godzilla. I'm just going to ask a bunch of nerdy Godzilla stuff.
Yeah, that's genius.
Yep, that's the way to do it. You're like, talk about things he likes and not be like, so tell me about your work.
Talk about Michael Myers.
Remember when you made Halloween? That was awesome.
No, Halloween. Like, no, I don't remember it at all.
He almost sent Michael Myers to space, like actually, like he literally was going to make it. So that's that's a side note. Cool.
But that's Batman versus Godzilla. I did, if you'll indulge me. The tradition of Godzilla versus is like one of the hallmarks of the franchise, right? And there were a couple of other really fun versus movies that were never made that I thought would be, especially here. Your Dread Central. This is horror. And one of my favorite ones is Frankenstein versus Godzilla. Which would have been really fun. So, brief history on that. At some point in the early 60s, Toho got the rights to King Kong in Japan. And they're really excited about this because they had been doing all these, King Kong was one of those movies that got a ton of rep screenings. They would bring it back to the theaters pretty often for anniversary screenings and stuff. And so King Kong was still very popular. So they get those rights, and they also had gotten the Frankenstein rights from Universal to make Frankenstein movies through Toho. And so they said, well, great, we'll make Frankenstein versus King Kong. And I guess when they were running the numbers for that, it was like kind of weird. And they were like, well, King Kong, we're trying to bring King Kong back, but Frankenstein's not super established over here. And so they said, well, we have another, green monster that was popular when he came out 10 years ago, and that's Godzilla. So then that's how King Kong versus Godzilla came to be. And that was a massive, massive, massive hit.
It's crazy.
So then after that was a huge hit, then they were going to do a direct sequel to King Kong versus Godzilla, where they were going to bring Frankenstein back. But because Godzilla was the moneymaker, it was going to be Frankenstein versus Godzilla. And the very sort of bare bones, plot was basically that there was this like a urchin child running through the wilderness in Japan, and they discovered that this urchin child was actually Frankenstein that had been like resurrected somehow and had made its way to Japan, and then got irradiated by a hydrogen bomb and grew really, really big. And
there you go. Okay.
Then fought, Godzilla. Makes sense. Total sense. But I just love the idea of a giant Frankenstein. I just have always thought that's such a cool, and there's some concept art for it. And it's just really, it does look like it would be really fun. Just a giant, like Boris Karloff style Frankenstein versus Godzilla.
Cool. I want that.
And then there is one other one that is one of the more famous ones in terms of when you're talking about unmade Godzilla films, and that's Godzilla versus Ghost Godzilla. And this one, it's pretty cool. There was so it was planned to be the last movie in the Heisei era. So for those who don't know, there's the Showa era, which are the older ones that begin with the earliest one. It ends with Terror of Mechagodzilla in the 70s. That's the Showa era. Then you jump up into the Heisei era, which begins in 1984. It goes until, 96, 95 maybe.
Yeah.
And the Heisei era, as we know it, ends with Godzilla versus Destroya. But originally they wanted to end it with Godzilla versus Ghost Godzilla. And the idea behind that was they basically wanted to have Godzilla versus Godzilla. They were like, just put two Godzillas together and it'll be a huge hit. And so they came up with this idea where the new Godzilla from the Heisei era, that somehow the spirit, the ghost of the original 1954 Godzilla, who we know was killed, was going to be brought back from the dead. And so new 80s Godzilla was going to be fighting the dead ghost of pissed off 1954 Godzilla. The design was really cool. They ended up sort of reusing the design for a Millennium Era film, which is one of my favorites, called Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. And I love that design for Godzilla. His eyes are all white. And in that movie, it also takes a little bit from this. It's not a resurrected Godzilla from 54, but it is the dead Godzilla from 54 that is now possessed by the angry souls of all the Japanese soldiers who died in World War II.
Whoa.
It's actually the craziest shit. I literally watched that when I was really stoned and was like, wait, Godzilla's haunted? His bones are haunted? The skeleton of Godzilla is haunted? And I was like, my fucking little pea brain was just like absolutely like in shambles.
And
it
that's
was
why
like, it's wild.
His bones are hollow because there's ghosts in them. Oh no, the earth is hollow. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're getting it. You're getting it. You're putting it together.
But that is legit a fantastic movie. It's one of the best of the whole franchise.
Say the name of it one more time.
Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack.
I'm gonna make sure Siri heard that. Very cool. Okay. This is nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. But that was Godzilla versus Ghost Godzilla, which I think would have been cool. Apparently in the treatment, originally it was going to be those two Godzillas and then a third Godzilla was going to come up. And they were going to have like three Godzillas fighting.
Cool.
But they changed that third one to be, I think it was some kind of a robot. Because they were like, we can't have three Godzillas. That doesn't make any sense.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I want them all to be different colors, like there's the different Yoshi colors. That's kind of
yes.
Oh my god.
Perfect. And also, is red Yoshi like better? I don't understand the different colored Yoshis. That sounds awesome. Honestly, I hope that we get that one day, the Ghost Godzilla one. That's the best one. Fun. I literally wasn't sure if it was going to be a ghost, and it was.
It's an actual
ghost.
And a lot of ghosts, honestly, like every ghost in a sense. Okay, well, that's killer. Thank you so much. I didn't know a lot of that, so that's perfect. I'm going to be the one to run us through part 3, our final chapter of Godzilla is Canceled today. And it's a little bit different because it's not focused so much on Godzilla, but another monster who time and time again just didn't get their shine. And I just don't think that's fair. So because you guys are, okay, have you guys heard of, I might need help with the pronunciation, but it's Bagan or Bagan. Have you heard of this creature before, either of you?
I have heard of this creature. I admit that I don't know a ton about about.
Do you have the
I just always
pronunciation?
pronounced it Bagan because I have no idea.
Bagan.
But
Okay.
I don't know. That is based on nothing. That is
We're gonna
based
go
on
with Bagan, and if I'm wrong, you know whose fault it is.
Mhm.
So I love Bagan. Bagan has had a rough go of things because Bagan never made his way to the screen, and he tried. So first conceptualized, I think, back in the very early 80s, there was a film sort of proposed called Resurrection of Godzilla, where this Bagan monster was envisioned as a shape-shifting guardian with three forms, each representing like a different thing, like land, air, and the sea. And the final form, the best form of all, Demon Beast. Don't know what that means exactly. Sounds scary. But this concept was shelved, and eventually they did make the return of Godzilla, I believe, in 84. But that was not, like, Bagan did not give up there. In 1990, Mothra versus Bagan was begun. And in that, we would have seen classique Mothra battling this guy, and Mothra awakes during an environmental destruction. But there was a producer who was very supportive of the project, but it got canceled, I think, due to Mothra's marketability and the poor box office returns of Godzilla versus Biomonte.
Yeah, Biolante.
Cute. Okay, next year we had.
This is Biolante's, Josh. This is Biolante.
Oh, my favorite. It's giving Poison Ivy, but a big monster vibe. You know, like sexy.
Basically.
Uma Thurman. So Godzilla versus Bagan, 1991. This was going to be a more traditional versus Godzilla. Toho kind of was into it, but then dropped it for versus King Ghidorah. Yeah. And then 1995 rolled around. Good year. No Tori Amos album that year. And Toho wanted to make a series, and once again decided to put our friend Bagan up as this final boss. But despite rumors and actual development, he was replaced by drag queen Destroya in 1995. But he does exist in other places. So it's not like he's just, a whisper in the willows to pop culture. In 1993, there was something called Super Godzilla, and Bagan actually made his only official appearance as the final boss in this Super Nintendo game. So his design in the game was actually based on unused concept art from previous eras. So have you played Super Godzilla, Graham?
I have not. No, those all the Godzilla video games are really, really hard to come by.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Those are tough.
Now I want it. Now I need it.
I really want. There's like a CD-ROM game that was like they called it the Godzilla Studio Tour, and I don't know exactly what it is, but I know you could make like posters of like.
Oh my god!
Wanted. And then there was a PS2 game.
Mm-hmm.
It was PS2, and that one's like extremely hard to find.
You have to import them.
I want it,
and like
I'm not even going to play it. I just want to own it.
Pay too much money for them. Like pay a lot of money for them.
Well,
it's like $1,000 or something for a disc. It's like crazy.
If you bring up the Godzilla movie studio tour game or whatever it is, because Bagan also was featured there. And
way.
Yeah. And users were allowed to create custom Godzilla movie posters in that game. And Bagan was there. So he's getting his shine come hell or high water. And then in 2019, Godziban, he appeared there in a special episode of this puppet-based web series, marking his first appearance as like visual form, not in a video game. Godziban?
Yeah, Godziban. They if you want to watch Godziban, they on the Toho Studios YouTube page, they have full episodes of Godziban. And they have a lot of others. Because I don't know if I can't remember if this is like a special episode that was the continuation. They had one in the 80s where literally it was a TV show in Japan, and it was just people just off camera with action figures with like Godzilla action figures.
We did that in Canada a lot as well, so I know that medium.
Yeah, and so anyway, it's kind of all related to that. But
cool.
But that's cool that he was there.
That's fun. Canadian people, do you remember PJ Katie's farm, where PJ Katie would just play with farm toys? Even as a kid, I was like, come on. Okay. I just want to do a little bit of note on Bagan's visual forms. So he underwent different iterations, as I was mentioning, including this very cool 3-form shape-shifting version. I think the one that was sort of the most developed and planned out, which was like air, water, sea, whatever, and then demon beast. And then the latter, I believe the demon beast, the characteristics looked like these large arm-mounted wings, a forehead horn, and it was capable of emitting a light ray and had the ability to sort of protrude an invisible energy from its fingertips, which
hell yeah,
relatable. And I just think that, like, you know, Godzilla gets all the shine. Bagan, we're here for you. We love you. We support you. And happy Pride.
I thought when I saw the latest Godzilla versus Kong, and that there was that chained monster that was like the ice monster that came out.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that thought, oh,
here she is.
Bagan?
Oh.
You know, because it was everything I read, you know, based on like what you just said, like the demon beast stuff, and there were elements and things like that. I know she has a different name in the movie. I can't remember what the name is, but I wondered. I was like, is that, you know, could that be who that is? Because she had such a big reveal in the movie, and I was like, is this should be somebody that I recognize? Oh,
interesting. So do you still think that there's a chance that was her or them?
It might. Well, it's not. She's not named that.
Well, how dare
in the movie, but I think it's possible that they might have taken influence.
Interesting. Well, there is official like merch, so like there are like action figures and dolls and stuff. So Bagan is out there. Okay, respect. But put respect on the name.
Please.
Okay, so that's kind of the wrap of like the 3 main sections of this episode. Wow, time goes by so fast. So I'm gonna take us into conclusion territory. Out of all of these films that we've talked about today, like, which do we think have a shot at maybe getting produced? Or like, which ones would we want to see the most? Mary Booth?
I mean, Bride of Godzilla.
Okay, yeah. Do you think there's a chance? Do you think she's out there?
I mean, I'd always have hope. I don't know. I feel like so many people make weird movies all the time, and like, I would personally love like a low budget indie version of this that's like kind of silly but like full of heart. I don't know.
It's a woman, like just a lady.
Yeah, I don't know. I just find like there could be something so sweet there. I really like that idea. That one to me, out of the other two, feels.
Who's gonna make it? Who's gonna direct it? Is it that French guy that made Climax?
No, it's me. I will direct it.
Oh, of course it's you.
No, I claim it for me. That's.
I think that's beautiful, and I love that. And Graham, if you could like, you know, use your magical powers to get one of these unproduced Godzilla films made,
obviously Batman versus Godzilla.
Yeah, hello.
So fun.
That's a good one.
You know, I imagine Christian Bale growling at Godzilla, seeing who has the biggest roar. But I am really enamored with the idea of Godzilla versus Ghost Godzilla, and I do actually think that that is sort of an idea that could somehow be used. Like when I think of Godzilla -1, right? I think of like sort of how could you put the supernatural into something like this. It makes me think of Godzilla versus Ghost Godzilla and all the themes that you could play with. But I mean, any of these would be super fun.
I know.
You know, I'd be thrilled with any of them.
Last question for both of you. If you could pit Godzilla against an American horror icon, who is it? And is it Freddy Krueger ginormous?
I was just thinking Freddy Krueger going
big old
Godzilla, going into Godzilla's brain, and like Godzilla being all dreamy, and then cougar.
Oh yeah,
going in there.
he pulls like a Jason, like what he does to Jason, and like fucks him up and is like, your mom sucks. Whatever. That's crazy. I like that. Is that your answer? Is that your final go?
I think either that or honestly Chucky for some reason because he's
the
so
biggest
small.
versus the littlest.
I just find that would be just like just for a visual gag.
You would ride him. You would be like on his back. Like,
oh my god.
And he has, those memes of Godzilla like in the ocean with like the giant high heel shoes.
Yes, with the giant legs. Yes.
I think about that a lot. Good answer. Good answer. Graham, what about you? Who are you going to pit against this guy girl thing?
I think it would be very fun if the Predator was trying to nab the ultimate kill.
Whoa, oh my God, that's so good. Have you thought about that previously?
No, I literally was just thinking like,
that's
who
good.
would be great? And then I have a Predator action figure on the wall and I went, oh.
Get that treatment out because that's so good.
I just watched the new Predator Killer of Killers, and it's actually like so fun.
It's like
it's animated and it's just like so badass and cool. And just imagining a Predator coming to Earth to get Godzilla. Oh my God, that would be so cool. And then all of a sudden we all like it's like AVP where all of a sudden we're all like the Predators and the humans are working together, but it's against Godzilla, not the Xenomorphs.
Whoever wins, we lose.
Oh my God,
I love that.
GVP.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Last question for both of you is, what are you up to these days and where can you be found online, Mary Beth?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just kicking it, just hanging out. You can find me online I'm on Blue Sky at MB McAndrews and on Instagram at MB.McAndrews. I'm working on things and stuff. I got a podcast, Scarred for Life. I got a movie called Bystanders on Tubi. I got a podcast called Scarred for Life that's on the Dread Central Podcast Network. And I have a book coming out soon, so get ready for that.
Holy crap. Graham, how about you? What's going on?
Also on Blue Sky at Graham Skipper. I'm on Instagram, Skipstagram, spelled like my name, Graham. And I am still on the Twitter, kinda, at Graham Skipper. Once in a blue moon, I'll post there. And yeah, my movie, The Lonely Man with the Ghost Machine, is out wherever you rent movies. And there will be some other fun announcements regarding that coming out soon. So please check it out. Support indie horror.
Baby.
And I don't know. I'm around. I'm in podcasts and stuff and trying to get some other movies made and things like that. And go buy my book, Godzilla, The Official Guide to the King of the Monsters. Weirdly, if you're buying it from an American source like Amazon or something, it's Godzilla, The Ultimate Illustrated Guide is how it's listed. It's not called that. It is called Godzilla, The Official Guide to the King of the Monsters. Don't get confused. And but I always encourage people, please go to your local bookstore and
read something. Well, that's amazing, guys. This was our Live from Chattanooga 2025 episode. It was so fun. And we love Chattanooga. So make sure you're watching Chattanooga movies and supporting this killer festival, who is on the most prestigious list of all time, Dread Central's 90 best genre film festivals on planet Earth. Yeah. So that's how you know she's the best. That's how you know.